We're back, and joining us now is Craig Sawyer. What's going on, Craig?
Hey there, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
Hey, man, pleasure is all mine. Pleasure is all mine. Hold on, where'd our friend go?
I had my wife put him away because he kind of wanders around back on the sofa and drives me nuts. So.
Oh, man, you're a killjoy. So wait, am I understand this correctly? You're a Houstonian?
I grew up there. Yep, all my family's back there, and all my ancestors, back quite a few generations. So yeah.
Okay. What part, if you don't mind me asking?
Just north, Woodlands, the Spring.
Woodlands.
Area.
Okay. Okay. I was did most of my schooling in the Sugarland area.
Okay. Right on.
Yeah.
I had a girlfriend there growing up.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a couple too.
Some sugar in Sugarland.
Right? They're crazy over there. Don't date anybody from Sugarland. But let's talk about your military career. For those of you who don't know too much about you, what does your military career look like?
Well, I started off in the Marine Corps. I wanted to go into Force Recon and be a Spec Ops guy, but I wanted to be the Marine Corps flavor of Spec Ops guy. And I found out once I got in that while there was a lot of discipline, a lot of skill, a lot of esprit de corps, that the Marine Corps really didn't have the budget or the political backing for Spec Ops missions at that time. This was in the early 80s. And so everybody was saying, hey, Sawman, man, if you really want to go and make stuff happen, you want to go to the SEAL teams. They got all the money, the political backing, and all that. So they're the ones doing stuff. So I got all the way out of the Marine Corps and into the Navy to do that. And then I took off, went Navy SEAL teams, became a sniper and sniper instructor, combat action, Desert Shield and Storm. And then I got picked up for DevGru and spent most of my time there at the highest level counter-terrorist operations. And then I got out and went into federal law enforcement after that, and then high threat dignitary protection, and then some other protective work that for other agencies we don't talk about. And then got into film and television, and actually ended up doing counter poaching in Africa, trying to save some of the last of the endangered rhinos from poachers over there. So,
oh really? Wow,
it's been a kind of a wide scope of experience, if you will.
Okay. Now, of course, the ones you can actually talk about. Are there any particular missions that stand out in your mind?
I've made it a habit not to talk about them, but one of the ones that stands out in my mind is it was a training mission, actually, but we were coming in the helicopter and over in the Middle East, and they were doing these fixed wing style landings like you would in a regular airplane, just because the sand would blow out in front of them, and at night on the night vision goggles, and they would lose their bubble, lose their horizon, and kind of set down really heavy. Well, we blew an engine doing that once right over the top of an above ground oil pipeline. And so we flared really hard, blew an engine, landed, and I was strapped in the back in one of those fast attack vehicles. I was the lead driver for our AV program. So it's like an off-road, like a sandrail, thing with machine guns on it. And I was listening to the pilots on ICS, and they were kind of freaking out because it was a big deal. And we landed right on that pipeline. Nothing blew up or anything like that. But they're like, hey, guys, this mission's a scrub. We're going to abort RTB, go back to base. So we were running from that bird over to the other one because we always fly in twos.
Yeah.
And that stood out in all of our minds. There's stuff like that happens all the time, at different combat missions and stuff like that. But that's one that I can talk about without hurting anything, I guess.
It's just interesting hearing like how, I guess in the grand scheme of things, that is a smaller thing that is easily overlooked. When you are talking about engaging in certain missions and stuff, at least people like me who don't think about stuff like that, like you're ready to go, you're set in, you're strapped in, everything's good to go. You have your mission and your task on mind, and then something happens with the delivery system in which is taking you to the place that you're supposed to be at. So that's
the ride to work, man, will kill you. People say, well, how do you do all these things, and jump from high altitudes at night with all this equipment and lock out of submarines at depth and all these things. And I tell them, everything's relative. We're humans. We adapt pretty quickly to things. And it's a tough guy environment. And the mission requires us to be able to do those things to get into enemy territory and conduct our mission. So I tell them, if you imagine taking a cowboy from, 100 years ago and 150 years ago, you take him, you throw him in your truck and you drive to work, you'd scare him half to death. Go that fast, right? I mean, you'd be on the floorboard. You'd probably have, coffee, checking the radio, maybe even taking a cell phone call. You're okay because you're normalized to it. You're inoculated to it. So I think in the SEAL teams, we get the same way. You know, we're used to doing these things. They are still interesting, but it's not like this, you know,
eyes wide open. Yeah.
like it is the first time.
I think that was a beautiful description. Just the cowboy in the passenger side of your car just going nuts.
I can see it.
And there's some people, you put them on the back of a horse, they're like, nope. No, not doing it.
Yeah, no, that's true too.
Yep. Yeah, I'm one of those people.
So we need to do it more. We got horses here. Come on out.
I mean, I'm more referring to the first time I ever got on a horse. I was completely nervously terrified, right? Because you have no control of this thing. This thing doesn't want me on it. He's gonna let me know really quickly. I'm gonna learn the hard way. It's kind of like, okay. But so after this, you became an air marshal, one of the original air marshals.
Yeah,
that's freaking interesting considering like this was.
It was cool. It was a really small program at the time. There were only 33 of us, and one of the other guys had been at the unit that I'd been before, and he'd been a pilot, and he had 2 master's degrees, and if he felt like that was a pretty good place to work, I thought, man, you know, I'll trust his judgment. So I went there, and it was pretty cool for a while. A lot of training, and we were, you know, protecting our aircraft from terrorists, and it was pretty good camaraderie among the unit, you know, because we did train well. We had the hardest pistol training qualification of any federal law enforcement anywhere.
Really? I mean, I guess for obvious reasons. Yeah,
because I mean, look at the environment. It's very unforgiving. You've got a thin skinned tube of aluminum full of innocent civilians, and maybe terrorists there that you've got to fight it out with, and you can't hit the innocent people. So it's really unforgiving environment. You got to be very precise. So we trained for the occasion.
Now, when you were a marshal, do you remember what you carried?
Yeah, but we don't say.
Oh, you don't? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, never mind. So
we don't want the bad guys to know.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know, either we got a slingshot or a howitzer or anything in between.
That makes perfect sense, actually. So now, considering the environment pre 9/11 and post 9/11 at working as an air marshal, how big of a difference was that from a cultural standpoint within?
Oh, entirely. Yeah. That program changed entirely. Somebody brought in federal managers from other agencies and just put them in charge without really giving them the training or the experience.
Gotcha.
And so it got kind of silly. So over the next few years, a lot of the guys that had somewhere else went because it got very big, very bureaucratic.
Yeah.
And it kind of got dumbed way down. Instead of like a small team of guys that are very highly trained, there's this giant force of people that.
Oh, so this was post.
This is post.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they needed to hire so many people.
Gotcha.
They had to lower the standards and the management was bad. You know, a lot of it hit the media. Just mismanagement, gross mismanagement. But I did that. I did it for 5 years, and then I left, and I started going and working with guys that from my old unit and the Army side, doing high threat dignitary protection for the Department of State, protecting some of their diplomats in some of the highest threat zones, and working as an AIC and a team leader for another agency. So that was great work, man. A lot of great guys and making some good things happen when it was needed most, and it was cool, you know. But at the same time, nothing's free in life, you know. The pay was all right, the work was good, you know. But the kids were growing up without me. I got 2 kids, man, so I'm busting my hump trying to provide for my little babies, man. The ones I'm making it all happen for. And I got teachers looking at me and coaches, you know, when I'm coming home, looking at me like I'm the bad guy and saying, "Oh, I guess you do really exist after all."
Wow.
Man, I'm trying my hardest to do the right thing. And I'm missing. One of my buddies, it's like he punched me right in the stomach. He said to me, he goes, "Saw," he goes, "Kids spell love, Time." I was like, oh, man, there's an epiphany moment for me. There's getting it real, you know?
Yeah.
So since then, I've been making some adjustments to deliberately try to be more home and be more involved in their lives. So
now, is it from that standpoint, like, you know, you were doing private dignitary protection, in dealing with your kids, do you find yourself kind of engaging in some of the same behaviors when you're out and about with your kids to a degree?
Well, yes. In fact, it's to the point to where when I started becoming couple years ago more concerned about the people that we were importing into the United States and how problematic those people have been over in Europe and stuff. I was like, wait a minute. I've never wanted my family to have to worry about the things that I worry about, but now it's come time to where they probably should be a little more savvy, a little more streetwise to the things that I know, and they don't need to know how to put on, 250 pounds of equipment and roll out of the back of a C5 at 35,000 feet on oxygen in enemy territory. But they do need to have some of the skill that I know.
Yeah.
Situational awareness and threat recognition, some of these things, how to pick up on whether or not somebody's conducting surveillance on you, or if they're actually following you, or if they're just taking the same turns as you. So some of these skills I started teaching my own family. In fact, I created a training course out of that called Hard Target Training. And it's all about just making the American citizens, harder to target by criminals and wrongdoers, So it's really the same stuff that I picked from all the different parts of my career as a fighter and a shooter and all these things is how to empower the people, the things that I chose for my own family. So that's what hard target training is.
Would you say that there's a bit of an overemphasis on the firearm when it comes to like concealed carry, personal defense, or an underutilization of other things outside of the firearm?
There can be. Yeah. And what I like to put out is that at the highest level, highest threat level internationally, the way that people are protected is we run the intelligence out ahead of them and the surveillance so that we're very aware of the situation first. And then should there be any problem, any threat start to arise, we can respond very, very early and avoid that entirely in most cases. Yeah. And I advise civilians back here that that's really the best way to approach their own safety, is not count on having to successfully win a close range shootout with a bad guy, that's got no discipline, no scruples, there's nothing holding him back, but if we can see it coming, defuse and break contact and disengage early, man, that's our best chance of going home back to our families. And so that's what I put out.
Awesome.
Along with the firearms skills themselves, when people just can't give peace a chance.
You're right.
Because there are some that won't.
You're absolutely right.
Run away, they're going to chase you down, and we've all seen the videos and everything else. It happens. So
absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll do some more talking.
Right on.